put into the voting machine like that. Obviously, there's some risk there. Oh, Deb's going to get some more stuff, possibilities.
I mean, how hard is it going to be? I mean, if we have tons of absentee voting, Jeff, I mean, do we know the percentage of voters that have voted absentee yet? Do we have an account?
A lot.
It's quite a few.
We've had a lot of voters.
Uh-oh.
Can I come over on that one?
Someone...
That's me, I just unmuted because I was going to talk. I'll come over and talk on Jeff's. Okay, we've had a lot of absentee ballots go out and come back, and yeah, we're in the process. I can't even give you a number because we're buried. Stacy Butala and I, if I didn't have her helping me, I don't know what I would do. But anyway, I got from the county today saying that we can do curbside voting. How that works is there's a certificate like this that each voter in their car would have to fill out before they would be given the ballot. And then this would go with their ballot. And then they register, because you can't bring the sheet out. You know how when you go in to register to vote, you have to, you sign your name on that little sheet? Well, you can't take that out to the cars. That's why they're using this. 2 election judges have to go out there together to do this. And bring it in together. So that's where we're at. We can do the curbside voting. We'll just have to make sure we advertise that.
You'll have a detailed plan that then the public will be able to understand and how that's going to work, so there's not like hopefully not tons of confusion then, Deb?
Oh, they'll still be calling. There'll be lots of confusion. Yeah, we'll put it, we'll put something in the paper saying that we do have curbside voting at each of the precincts. So, yeah, we should be okay.
Do we have the numbers to be able to do something like that, or are we still looking for options on, how else we can, other options for voting other than curbside? Because I'm thinking too, what if it's a rainy day?
Well, the options are either you go in and vote, you curbside vote, or you do the mail ballot voting ahead of time. Those are the options.
Are they able to still go in and vote during that day? Only curbside?
No, you can go in and vote.
Okay.
This is for people that would be uncomfortable going into the building.
Okay. Because then that's what I would think within the building too. I mean, if we can make sure doors are all propped open, so we're minimizing anyone having to touch the doors in any such way, come in, and then having one of the judges or a volunteer or something to be able to wipe down every time someone votes and leaves that area, to wipe down the pen in the desk for the next person to come in.
Yes, yep, we've got all of that in place.
Okay.
Jeff, Matt wants in the meeting.
Oh,
He's trying to get in. And I think Paulie wants in too.
I don't see Matt.
Okay. You don't see Matt?
Matt
Okay.
is not waiting yet. Unless he got bored with me. I wasn't, there's Matt. Forget it.
Okay, what about Polly?
She's in.
She's coming on.
I moved away so Deb could talk.
Hello, I'm in.
All right.
Okay, great. So basically, just to give you a rundown, Bill, sorry, do you want to give them a rundown of what we talked about so far, or do you want me to?
Are we going to stay on?
I'm sorry, but I was here on time, but I kept getting a message that I wasn't allowed.
It was, Matt, it was my fault. I stepped away from my computer because Deb was talking about the election.
You can go there.
No problem.
You can go ahead, Randy.
So basically, Polly and Matt, what was said, or we haven't really discussed much, but basically what has been said was that we're looking at options for voting on May 12th and what people think. Debbie was just telling us about curbside voting and what she will have to do differently. So we've just kind of gotten into that discussion. That's all that you missed.
Is Polly in yet?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't see her. I don't hear her.
You have to do gallery view, but she is in.
I have 9 pictures in. One's Todd Grippentrog, the other one's yet. Host iPad.
She's got her camera off right now.
Oh,
Just says her name.
Oh.
Up at the top right, there should be a spot that says gallery view, and if you click on that, all of the boxes should come up.
You can only see 9 on the iPad. Swipe to the right, Bill.
oh, I see it. I mean, I see she's got her camera off, but her
Okay,
microphone's
can you
on.
hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Should we have a study session Monday after the governor makes an announcement what he's gonna maybe extend it, stay at home, or maybe can give some stuff up to kind of make a plan before the election?
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
The election is going on no matter what,
No, I know that, but
All right.
how we conduct it is a different story.
okay?
That'd probably be a good idea. Either way, I think I'm gonna have our guys, and there's 12 of them, but I'm gonna have them make, some portable plexiglass stands.
Covered.
You got that,
We've
right?
got the Virginia people came up with something for us.
Okay,
So we
good.
got that covered.
That's covered.
We've got wipes and hand sanitizer and masks and
Okay.
gloves that Mike is working on getting for us.
Good. Sounds like we
Do
have
we
the
have the
equipment.
numbers?
What?
Do we have the numbers of people that would be needed for going out to vehicles and going back in with the ballots? Do we have the numbers to be able to do that without, it being chaos at all the locations for voting?
I think we'll have the numbers. I
Deb
think we'll
Deb
have
thinks,
enough
Deb
people.
thinks we'll have enough people.
If I don't have any more judges drop out,
I mean, you're looking at probably one in Gilbert and one in Eveleth, correct? I mean, you've got how many precincts? You got 12. I
there's
couldn't
12,
see needing one.
there's 12 precincts, but 11 locations because Eveleth P2 and Leonidas both vote at the Leonidas Community Center. So there'll be
Okay.
2 precincts in there.
But how many, like, say, the Gilbert City Hall, I mean, they're gonna have everybody from the city of Gilbert voting there, so I would have a curbside there and a curbside in. You wouldn't have it at every precinct.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have it out where I live. I mean, would you have curbside, I mean, how many
I-
voters are in each precinct?
I really think that if we're gonna offer it at one site, we have to do it at every polling place. We
Yeah.
cannot pick and choose. Because
agree.
we're gonna have a nightmare like last time.
I agree.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, Bill. I do, of just efficiency wise, but I would just say if we're gonna offer it, we have to just be consistent across the board.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna say right now that we've had a lot of absentee voters, so I don't think we're gonna have as big a turnout at the polls. And I've got at least 3 people on at every precinct at all times. There's at least 3 people there. So if it's one of the smaller precincts and 2 people have to go out, it shouldn't be a problem. They just won't be able to let any voters into the building probably until those 2 come back in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I doubt they're having a mad rush
Right.
at the same time. Smaller precincts, yeah.
Some of the busier precincts, you have more than 3, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, Yeah, at the bigger, I think I've got 4 scheduled, all the time. And then I've got some alternates, and some people want to work all day, some people only want to work half days, so we've got some rotating people in there too.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Sounds like on it.
All right. Any other questions or
Alright.
comments on the election? We'll schedule a short study session for Monday, just to go over whatever the governor tells us as far as social distancing goes.
Excuse me, is he not going to announce anything until Monday? In the past, he's always been at least 3 days ahead of things.
Yeah, I don't know when he's gonna announce it. Like last week, it was Thursday when he announced school was being closed, so I don't know. If we don't have an announcement by Monday, I'll cancel the meeting. But I have to schedule it ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have it by Monday. I'm suspecting we'll have it by Wednesday of this week.
I'm hoping. All right, you guys wanted to talk about administrative contracts, and I'll let you do that while I'm setting up the class schedule discussion.
Okay, I think that would be Matt and Brandy could speak to that, correct?
Yep.
Brandy, do you want to take the lead?
Well, I'll take the lead and you can jump in. I had Debbie send out an email to everybody so that you could again have the current contracts that we've been discussing in your hands or visual for this meeting. So you should have the superintendent's contract, which I think we are at a point where Matt and I are comfortable with saying that is our ad hoc committee's recommendation to the board. But we are still working on, I think we're pretty much complete with the position that we have in mind for Jeff for, it's now called the administrator contract on, let me just pull it up here. Administrator on special assignment, I believe.
Are these going to be in hard copies, Brandy?
What?
Are these going to be in hard copies so that?
I'm sure you could get them in hard copy from Debbie if you'd like, but they were sent to you in your email.
Well, see, I don't get that email on my iPad. So.
Okay.
You don't
I'm
know
not
emails,
sure to
Jeff?
tell you what to say about that. I'm not sure what to say about that.
I would say that if you're not getting your emails, Tom, get a hold of Jason Ness and have him fix your iPad and get your emails.
Well, I'm not on Wi-Fi at home.
So you don't have
See,
Wi-Fi
I
at home?
use my iPhone for everything I want to conduct, so I don't have a computer at home.
To download the, yeah, so he would need to be connected in order to check the email.
Yeah.
So can we get them in hard copy then, I guess is what Tom is asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure
That's what I
Debbie
would
could send
prefer,
that
hard
out.
Copy.
That would be great, Debbie, if you could.
You can pick it up.
Oh,
right
well,
after
I
the
mean,
meeting.
It should be no problem to get them in a hard copy, and when we're gonna take action or whatever, then I think it for sure would do that.
Tom can pick up a copy of both of those after the meeting tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. So the administrator on special assignment is what this position for Jeff would be titled, and essentially, it would allow for him to be able to, and you can speak to it too, Jeff, if you don't mind, but it would allow him to still be contributing to TRA as well. But like I said, the superintendent contract is that's complete. That's pretty much what our recommendation to our board is, and then we'd have to discuss it and decide and approve it. The superintendent one, the only thing that was really changed was the opt-out. The opt-out, the 90-day opt-out was taken out of that contract. So Noel would not have, or the superintendent would not have that option of leaving the contract within the 90 days and going elsewhere. That's out. The salary is still the way that was presented a while back. That did not change. Noel felt that was a fair salary based on what he's currently making and then taking on our district. And
I just added that we felt that was fair after our discussion with him also.
yes, and the dollar amount initially came because Virginia had looked at how much the superintendent was making and then looked at how much we paid extra for Spencerani for taking on both districts. And I believe it was $25,000 that Spencer received in addition to what Virginia paid him, so that he was doing both districts.
Again, and I hate to keep correcting you, but Spencer, okay. I believe, was paid $20,000 in addition, and that certainly was a consideration. But I think all of us in our discussions that it was more as far as what the overall compensation being offered was in line with market, and overall compensation meaning all of the costs associated with the superintendent.
Correct. Jeff, is he right about the 20,000? Was it 20,000 that Spencer? Because we had talked about 20,000 and we talked about 25. So. I'm
not entirely sure. That's what we pay for the service. I don't know if they give that to Spencer or not.
Okay. So anyways, any questions, anything that you guys want to talk about that we can answer questions to? What else do you think?
I have a question on, I'm really stuck on that 10,000 a year bonus. I'm stuck on it. That doesn't seem, I guess I haven't seen that or haven't heard of that as a regular occurrence. And
that was in his previous contract as well.
Yeah, I realized that was in the previous. I'm not a fan of, do you get a bonus because you stay at your job?
I hear you.
Like that. I feel like that's what it is. And I mean,
in looking at these, and honestly, I would like to pay someone 100% on a retention bonus. If you don't finish the year, you don't get paid. But I mean, I'm being facetious there. But in looking at these other contracts, there are so many different ways. Whether it's a contribution to a healthcare savings plan, whether it's a contribution to 403Bs over and above your salary. It's just there's so many ways that compensation is written into these contracts, and that's just one of them. I think Dr. Schmidt, if we were to come back and say, we want to increase your salary by $10,000 and take that bonus out of there, I think you'd be more than happy to do that. If we came back and said we just want to take the $10,000 bonus out of there, then retention bonus, then it would be really, I think, opening up the negotiations all over. Not that we can't do that.
And I agree, Matt. I mean, it is I've fielded some community calls and some conversations I've had with people specifically about the superintendent contract and the amount of pay. I've also spoken to people, you know, because I did express my concerns when this initially was brought up in our board meeting, and on that being a high salary. However, afterwards too, when I was able to kind of look a little bit more at the healthcare benefit and different things that were waived in lieu of having a higher salary. I mean, I think you have to make sure that none of these contracts are apples to apples comparison. You really have to be aware of what you're looking at, because it does influence the numbers. That 10,000 was just one that I get what you're saying, that I don't know. I'm not a big fan of a bonus for our administration, for anyone. I mean, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
And I appreciate that input, because we can go back and have more discussion on it. I mean, what we were tasked with was going, developing this ad hoc committee and coming up with some ideas for the contract and kind of negotiating. And that's what we've done. We don't make that decision alone. It would be all of us. So your input is appreciated, and we can, if the board wants us to go back and discuss it, we can go back and discuss it. But with everything that we talked about, this is what we felt comfortable with bringing forward for a recommendation. I know that there was some discussion as well about how much the new superintendent is, because I fielded some calls and stuff too, but there was some discussion about the superintendent in Duluth and how much he is making, but that didn't include any of the benefits, and I got confirmation of that by calling the school district. So there's benefits in addition to that dollar amount or that salary that was listed. And one of the benefits is a $10,000 contribution to a 403B. So like Matt is saying, it's just, that's where the money was going, was to a 403B with this, our superintendent contract for Noel. He's just electing to put that as a stipend.
So do we know what the Virginia or the Duluth superintendent, do we know what the total benefits is to include health and welfare? Do we know what that number is?
Yeah, I do. For the 403B, the health premium per month, the dental per month, and just those things, and not anything to do with any other benefits of, I think you can also contribute to life insurance and those kinds of things too. But
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For the Duluth superintendent, it was $203,884. And like I said, that's including the 403B, health, and dental. That's what it includes.
Now that what was that number again, Brandy?
203,884.
So he doesn't.
According to the calculations, and I spoke right to their business person at the Duluth Public Schools.
I think the number that I saw, salary alone that was published, was $187,000.
Correct. That's salary alone.
Right. So then you add 10 on the top. That's 197. And so he isn't taking health insurance, because you certainly couldn't pay a health plan with.
He is taking health insurance. I'll just double check my calculations here, but
that's gotta be at least $20,000 a year.
That's fine. I'll let you double check that. When you look at the superintendent compensation that was sent out for our region, and the average. care in those top 3 or whatever ended up being right around $20,000
That's for a single or family.
for healthcare, retirement.
Yep,
Yeah.
so it was 187,000 just for salary, 10,000 for a 403B annually. It's $513.70 per month for health insurance, so that was ended up being $6,164.40. And
I
then
didn't see that plan.
Yeah.
and then the dental is about $60 per month. So it ended up being, like I said, about 203,900 approximately. 203,900.
That is a really low healthcare plan.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Is that-
average on is 12,500.
Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, is that in comparison for the same size district that we're looking at right now? That you're comparing salaries at for the number of students?
Mm-mm.
These are all different. I think if you look at, I mean, and if you look at other areas in the region, Deer River and Nashwauk, Sheriff Superintendent, and I should have that in front of me, but I don't. Lake County and Cook County Sheriff Superintendent, Mountain Iron and St. Louis County School Sheriff Superintendent, and this is in line, I believe, with all of those cases. And here, not only are you looking at a shared superintendent, this is going to be a very tough job for the next, or at least until we get these schools operating, and not just combining the districts. If we're successful with consolidation that we as a board support, it still will be tougher in that, number one, you're going to be dealing with a board of 13 for a period of time, which I think if you ask any superintendent in the state how they would feel about that, you'd get the same answer. And not to mention $180 million construction project that ultimately you're going to be responsible for, seeing that comes in properly granted with a lot of help, but at the end of the day, if there are issues with this, it's the superintendent who's going to be on the pointy end of the sword more than anyone else.
But in the end, the district is still going to be responsible for the buildings, no matter what happens with construction or
absolutely.
whatever. Yeah. So that goes back to the taxpayers. That right now, we're almost in the same stages of the Great Depression, and I mean, we got to be careful here on how we're spending the taxpayers' money on this thing. I mean, we got over 22.5 million people out of work. I mean, and you just read the paper where, well, you probably know, Matt, IRRB is already going to lose production revenue too, coming up with out of this COVID-19. So I mean, there's a lot of things that have to be brought into consideration here.
Tom, we're not going to stop the project, and I'm saying
No, I didn't realize that, Bill. I'm just saying, how much money we got. What is the budget? I mean, how close are we in budget? I don't know. I've never really seen the budget and how much money we spent, where it's going, and there's no breakdown. I haven't seen a breakdown on it.
But we're still going to need a superintendent, Tom,
I know,
regardless.
I realize that, but I think we got to be in consideration to the same size district and the number of students, because that's where our revenue is coming in, no matter consolidated or not.
Yeah, but Tom, they're walking into schools that are already finished, Tom. They're not. The majority of the schools don't have any construction projects going on. So,
So some of my thoughts on this is that it's tough because he already is coming in with a contract that he's been working under for 3 years, and then we're having him take on another district. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I of course accepted some requests for increased payment. I mean, that was a complete no-brainer to me on expecting to see some of that stuff. I think the tough part is that I agree, Tom, with what you're saying right now with our economy, people being concerned, labor starting to go, or mines starting to go idle for a bit. And I mean, I think it's tough. And, but on the other side of it, we cannot, just as Bill said, we can't stop the project. We still have to move forward. We still are paying for someone's experience, what someone, has been doing and working under, with additional requirements being put on them to work under. There is going to be some cost break where, I mean, it's not Eveleth Gilbert that's paying $200,000. It's Eveleth Gilbert and Virginia that are paying for one position, and the other part too, I think that we have to be cognizant of too, is he does have a doctorate level. I mean, it's, with increased education comes increased costs too for people. So I don't know the difference. I have not looked at any of the list of superintendents on who has different degrees, but I do think that ends up playing a factor to some piece.
And this discussion, and we haven't had any discussions with Dr. Schmidt for several months now, and I agree. The world is different now than it was then, but I think we've negotiated in good faith, and Brandy and I, representing this board as the committee, I think we've kept everyone informed as best that we can. This is at least the 4th time that we've talked about this. Honestly, I probably held up a vote here more than anything because I wasn't comfortable with making a recommendation until we had a more refined proposal on the table for Jeff, which I'm comfortable at this point that we do. And I'm comfortable that certainly, taking the word of Tim Reardon and Tom Tamaro as the Virginia board representatives, that while they haven't voted on the administrator on special assignment contract, but they have discussed it, and they feel that everyone on their end supports it also. So all these are very good points. It has there is some truth to be said that I just think it's behooves us to have continuity through the process.
I agree.
No, I'm not questioning the credibility of your negotiations at all. I'm just looking at the dollars and cents figures and bringing it out to the taxpayers. That's my concern. I guess when you get the hard copy of the contract, I'd like to look at that and go over that
Not that it's
and take it.
probably my place, but I can just tell you, if it's not him, it's gonna be somebody else. You're gonna be paying that much.
Thank you for your input, Jeff. I appreciate that.
So I don't think money should be your sticking point in this particular
Turn
instance.
on your microphone, Polly.
Oh, there it is, okay? Okay, I disagree about the amount of money. First of all, I think it's exorbitant. $40,000 increase in 1 year, 20% the first year. That's a lot of money. And
I believe it's 30.
you have to add in that extra $10,000 retention bonus, and then it's $40,000 after
He
that.
has that in his current contract.
Doesn't matter, it's still a $40,000 increase over his current contract. That's what the first year will be, okay? And second of all, we've got these days of uncertainty, plus our own governor has come out with I don't know if it was an executive order or just a voluntarily thing. He and his cabinet and all of his commissioners are taking a 10% cut in their salaries. And the budget, the state budget has taken a hit. They budgeted things on a certain percentage, and now we're at least 5-6% under the monies, the revenues that will be coming into the state. That's going to affect everything. We don't even know if we're going to get 2%. We've been getting like 2% increase every year. Maybe we'll get 0 for how many years to come? And that's going to affect our formula money. In such times of uncertainty, I think it's absurd to give this kind of an increase. And you know, he may have a PhD, but he's not experienced in buildings and facilities and consolidation. He's a first term superintendent. He doesn't have experience putting together a consolidation or whatever. And there are superintendents out there and other people that do have that experience. And
But we're voting on that on May 12th, so that part is going to be over with
what part?
shortly. The consolidation vote is coming up on May 12th.
But
So
you were talking before about what's going to be taking us through the consolidation, the new facilities project, you know, the whole building project, and that sounds to me like you think it's justified to give him more money because he's working on a project like this.
I think that it's justified to give him more money because he's taking on another school district. And I also think it's justified that he takes on more money because, again, like the Duluth superintendent, that person is coming in with schools already built and an educational program already set up. Whoever is the superintendent for our district, whether it's Noel or anybody else, they're coming in with new schools being built and, you know, it changes the way education is delivered. It's, you know, two major things. And personally, when you talk about buildings, this has never been about buildings. In my opinion, this has been about education. And I feel like everybody voted, okay, not everybody, but a ton of people voted because they think that we should have been consolidated a long time ago, but also because they liked what was being said about education and how we're trying to go about delivering it differently up here. And I think that Noel has that knowledge and has the background and the education to do that. And I'm, again, not saying anything towards you, Jeff. I mean, I don't, you know, you've done a great job, and that's not what I'm talking about right now. What I'm saying is that he's just educationally in everything he's done, I think he's worth that dollar amount.
Okay, so you brought in two of those points, and can you give me examples of other school districts in the state that have had building projects like this or whatever, that they got extra money because of it, or is it just part of a superintendent's job? How about superintendents in the past that have done this with no extra pay, just because it's, you know, it's their superintendent's duty, and you go along and you do the job because it's the job. You know, some years are probably easier than others, but look at the past when Eveleth and Gilbert consolidated, and we had how many building projects and bond referendums? We had 2 or 3. Virginia had 3 for sure. We had 2.
That was over 20 years ago.
I don't care, but we had Mike Lang. We didn't give him any extra money, and actually, certain years he took freezes, and I know it because I was on the board, and he led the way. And if it was like a 1 or 2% thing, he says, "Well, I can't expect, you know, if I take a big amount, I can't expect." What kind of a leader do you have when you grab the pot for yourself, and then, you know, the other employees get 1%, 2%, or whatever? And I just don't think that he doesn't have that experience. Okay, in a building project like this. So I don't think he deserves more money. You know, he's learning as he goes along too. Things are working out as time goes on. And there are other people in this state and other superintendents that have had experience with building projects and putting together consolidations. And I think this is way too much. 20% the first year. Retention bonuses, if somebody is committed, you don't put in a contract. Well, if I stay, you know, I get $10,000 a year for 3 years. That doesn't sound like commitment to me, and it's just not right. 20% in the first year and $40,000 bump in 1 year. I don't care if he doesn't take insurance or he doesn't take other benefits. That's his prerogative. We had JoJo coming in as an athletic director, and she said, "Well, I don't need the benefits, and so could you, put more on my salary?" We said, "No, it doesn't work that way, And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't believe in that. I know bargaining units, they can't do that because you'd have to give it to everybody. You can't one person can't negotiate in a bargaining unit. That's different. But this is a bargaining unit of one, and there's another issue that I haven't even gotten the answer to yet because it's so complicated. I asked Bill to set up maybe a meeting or some kind of communication with our plan administrator of how you handle benefits in lieu of salary in lieu of benefits. We don't even know if there's a legal issue there or.
Here, I'll interject. There is no salary in lieu of benefits.
Hang on, Jeff, hang on. Paulie, where is it written into his contract that it says he's taking benefits in lieu, or taking money in lieu of benefits? Where does it say that?
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
That's your speculation.
No, Bill, but this conversation just now has been, well, he's not taking the benefits that are real.
Okay. Hello?
You froze up, Polly.
Hello? Well, Jeff, I guess I don't know what to say.
Well, I mean, there is nothing in that contract that says anything about taking salary in lieu of benefits. So it's a non-issue.
And we did have a discussion about it with the attorney as well. And I believe that was during I think it was during a work session, and that was addressed. And she said she did not believe that there was an issue with that. So we did get legal advice on that.
She did say that it happens. That is not unheard of, and it does happen. And it actually wasn't even in a work session. I think it was in a regular meeting.
Thank you.
Can you find Polly, Jeff?
She's not back yet.
She probably got booted out, and she's going to be coming back.
Yeah, mine froze up for a while there in the beginning when you guys.
There she is.
All right. And, let's just leave that aside because I don't think we should even be having this conversation because I see no reason why we should be even talking about, until that vote happens, may not be consolidated for another year. And to have separate superintendents or representatives, I don't care if it's an interim or what, that I totally disagree with, no matter whether consolidation vote happens or not, that we need to wait till after that consolidation vote.
But we addressed that at our work session, and there was a clear consensus of all 6 of us to proceed doing that.
Okay, let's vote on it.
I mean, the rest of us, Bill, did you remember doing that? Were you in favor of moving that way?
Yes.
John, I hate to call people out, but all 6 of us sat around a table and no one said we don't like this idea. Everyone said proceed. And we talked about it again at another board meeting.
We're talking about it again now, aren't we? So I'm putting it into the discussion.
When are we going to quit talking about it?
You told me I didn't have any input before because I wasn't at the meeting, and now I am, and we're talking about it again.
You didn't have any input.
It's fair game because I wasn't at that meeting because I couldn't be at that meeting. It's fair game for me to say, and you know what? The first contract, Matt, the first contract had that if consolidation did not pass that was null and void. And then all of a sudden, this contract changed to say that whether the consolidation vote passes or fails, we're going for the same superintendent. Now, how did?
I believe you were at the ad hoc meeting when we talked about that, Polly.
Well, I had no input. I can't talk at an ad hoc meeting. But anyhow.
And we discussed
You're
it when
acting
we were.
like all of a sudden this came out of nowhere, and that's a bunch of garbage.
We've talked about it in our meetings, and it was the direction that this board told us to go. I mean, so whether or not you were at the meeting is whatever, but that's the direction the majority of the board wanted us to go, and we discussed it many times.
The first contract, the superintendent's contract, did not have this in there. I've got it in front.
That's because it's a work in progress, Polly.
Null and void. If the consolidation didn't happen, then all that language went away. Then I don't know when it was taken out, but that was, why are we?
That was taken out after the first meeting.
Well, why are we deviating from it then? That's the way, that's my opinion, okay? It's my opinion, and a lot of people in this town believe the same thing. So if you can look right in the camera to the people and the public, our constituents, and say you believe in this enormous salary and you believe that we should commit to the same superintendent, whether we're consolidated or not, do it.
I'm doing that.
Okay.
And I believe in the situation we are in and where we're going and the progress we've made and the knowledge that both superintendents have about our school district and what our situation is. I am again saying that this is the recommendation of our ad hoc committee for the superintendent's contract. Again, I appreciate your input, Polly, because that's what we're bringing this forward for, is to get everybody's input. But if everybody is, whatever the majority of the board feels is what we're going to go with. And we are going to eventually need to have a vote on this. And in my mind, I would like to have another study session if you feel it's needed, but I would like to make movement on this contract. I would like to go forward and even schedule a special meeting to make this decision. And it doesn't matter if it's before May 12th or after May 12th, because the situation is still the same. If we are going to have a school district, which all of these buildings are still being built, grades 7 through 12 are going to continue to go to school together from Eveleth, Gilbert, and from Virginia in the new high school. If we're doing all those things, we have those buildings. We're going to be building those buildings. And if we're sharing a high school with 7 through 12, I do feel that it is best to have one superintendent. If we have one person giving us information, we're all getting the same information, because Polly, you have talked about yourself that we're not getting the same information. So to eliminate that, we are going to have the same superintendent to ensure we're getting the same information.
My point is that we need a separate representative superintendent to represent the best interests of Eveleth Gilbert, students, employees, taxpayers, and the whole situation. That's where I'm coming from, and I don't think that can be the same person at this point in time. Now, it was different when we had the same superintendent, when we were pairing and sharing, and we took 6 years to go through the process to consolidation. That's a whole different situation, because we did not have a joint powers board of 3 and 3. We had 2 separate boards that were looking out for the best interests of their community and their school district, and that was totally different. And we shared a superintendent, but we had 2 different entities. It's totally different this way. And we need our own.
If I didn't believe one person, namely Dr. Schmidt, will look out for the best interests of the Eveleth Gilbert district every bit as much as he'll look out for the best interest of the Virginia district, should the consolidation vote fail, I certainly wouldn't be recommending this to the board to approve. And to suggest otherwise is an insult, frankly.
No, it's not, Matt. I totally disagree, and my opinion is just the same.
You might not think it's an insult, but I do.
You're insulting me. I didn't insult you. You're insulting me. I think there are other people out there that probably could do a better job going through a project like this and going through the process of consolidation. So people with experience.
Okay, but I also think that there's always a better person to do everything. There's a better person to do my job right now, and there's a better person to sit on a school board over each and every one of us. That's just the
Grass is
reality.
always greener.
Yeah,
we have-
so, but I
we
do
have-
want to speak to just one quick thing quickly is that Polly, you had said, the community doesn't agree with this and the pay. Not everyone there's quite a few too that do understand that with adding on another district, there is an increase of pay that's going to be expected by someone. And there is a cost that go with that. So I spoke about the people that have been concerned about it, and I want to still advocate for those that are not in disagreement with it and understand it. So
What
I've
about
heard from both.
What about St. Louis County Schools in Mountain Iron Buell? We got one superintendent with Reggie Egebretson, and combined on these sheets, 173,000. And the student body numbers, look at Grand Rapids. They've got almost twice as many students as we do. And on this list, they've got 4,000 students.
But then again, they're not building new schools. We're not.
You're giving extra money in salary, in theory, just because we're building some schools, and I totally disagree with that. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go back to Mike Lang again and my stint on the school boards. He went through 2 consolidation votes. We went through about 3 facilities construction projects, and we didn't give him any extra money. He didn't ask for any extra money. It came with the territory. There's a perfect example right there. I think he's a fellow that's qualified to go through a project like this because he has experience.
Well, the superintendent, he's not going to be involved in the actual construction part of it. That's why we got a contract manager, and we got subcontractors. And now we're going to have a building coordinator to this. And so how much involvement is the superintendent going to be in actually laying bricks and mortars in his building? I know the building's going through, but I mean, his concern should be is with the educational part of it, with the curriculum and that part of it. That's where he should be putting his interest in, not so much in out to pounding nails.
And that's what I'm saying, Tom, is that's what his background is in. Polly was saying about the buildings and things, and what I'm saying is that he has a very lengthy resume on education, and he's been to different countries and seen how their educational programs work and curriculum, and so that's what we're talking about. It's education. And that's what he would be doing. The construction liaison type stuff is what is being proposed for the administrator on special assignment, in addition to buildings and grounds type work.
Well,
That being said, and I agree with that, at the end of the day, the buck stops with the superintendent.
As with any superintendents.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the construction liaison.
Can I just throw one more thing out there, Bill, before we move on to the administrator on special assignment? So I believe I also shared or had Debbie email everybody the same document about the Cook County and Lake Superior District sheriff superintendent, and that superintendent's making $235,517. The Nashua, Keewatin, and Deer River school districts are sharing a superintendent, and for the 2019-2020 school year, that superintendent made $235,186 as a shared superintendent.
With a combined enrollment much lower than our combined enrollment will be.
And again, we have St. Louis County and Mountain Iron Buell, which is less than that, quite a bit less than that. It's comparable to his salary now. So you can throw comparisons all over the place, but let's use all of them and not just some of them.
And they were all taken into consideration when we were deliberating.
And that's why I shared this. That's why I shared this. It was shared with you, and it was shared during it was shared in the email recently by Debbie, and it was also shared with everybody at our work session or board meeting, whichever one, and it lists every single school district around this area, how much they make, their benefits, and things like that. That was
Okay,
shared, so we are
list-
making a comparison between.
Listing
And
off, okay,
Virginia
Okay.
is second on this list, and
can
it would
I
put
please speak?
Kelly, Kelly,
on this list.
Can I
go ahead,
please speak?
Kelly.
Okay. Yes, Polly, you can throw out all the lower figures you want. Brandy can throw out all the higher figures she wants. The fact is, it's in the range, period. So, can we move on, though it's 5:30 and we do have other
Yeah.
things to get on the study session.
Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Brandy, on the other contract.
So again, like I had said, and Matt will jump in and correct me when you need to, but again, the title of this position has been changed to an administrator on special assignment. Jeff, if he decides he'd like to take this, it would still be able to contribute to TRA, which was important to him. And then we worked through everything with Jeff, talked to Jeff about it, and the salary was the only thing that, again, Jeff, you can jump into if you'd like. But the salary was the only thing that Jeff was a little bit hesitant about. And we told him he didn't have to make any decisions or anything and think about it. And then we'd make a recommendation to the board based on what he thought. And we haven't gotten that from him yet, and I don't expect to get it from him right now either. But what we're bringing to you today is most likely going to be the final recommendation for the administrator on special assignment contract as well.
I have a question about that, Brandy. So if it's a administrator on special assignment, is he being, what administrative position is he leaving to go on special assignment?
He would be doing buildings and grounds
No. My question is, if
and
you're
the construction liaison
if you're
job.
an administrator on special assignment, you are being assigned something from an administrative job. So now, okay, Jeff, you're shaking your head. So tell me how this works in.
You could bring in somebody that's never lived in the state of Minnesota and call them someone on special assignment. You don't have to be leaving a job.
So this is a new position. So when you're on special assignment, usually when that special assignment is over, you go back to your administrative position, right? Whether it's a principal on special assignment or a teacher on special assignment.
This isn't a part of a bargaining unit.
Well, in this situation, there's no longer a tendency position to go back to. So if you're on special assignment, what are you on special assignment from, is my question.
Nothing.
He would be doing buildings and grounds job duties. Buildings and ground job duties and construction liaison duties.
Can I read a definition of special assignment? Because
Absolutely.
honestly, I don't know, I mean, that's a good question, Polly, because I don't know, so I looked at it quick. Special assignment means a job assignment that is expected to be temporary and is designated as a special assignment by the company in its sole discretion. A special assignment may be full-time or part-time and may consist of more than one part-time position in more than one tenure area.
There's special language, statutory language that defines administrator on special assignments in the context of school districts.
And once these, sorry, Polly, were you done? Because I don't want to interrupt.
Well, have we checked with the COSA, the Council of School Administrators, on a title such as this? And where does that leave Jeff after 2 years? Or how, if this is a 2-year contract, where does that leave him after? Does he have a job? Does he have a right to go back into from his special assignment?
I don't have any rights.
Position?
No rights. No rights. And once our board decides that they want to move forward with these 2 contracts, we would have our school district attorney look at it and go through the things that she feels are, you know, if there's anything in there she feels are wrong or need to be reworded, we would go through her to look through it. As far as a continuing contract, once this contract is over, there's no ties to any other position, no continuing contract.
How much of this position is maintenance or buildings and grounds or what? I was reading over the job title again, the job duties. How much of that, have you broken it out into how much is liaison and how much might be maintenance, and how much of those duties are actually in our maintenance director's job description right now? And so would he be relieved of some of those and Jeff would be taking them over? And if so, his job is being reduced in duties. You know, how much of a crossover is there, for one thing, and then how much of Jeff's duties would be maintenance?
What's envisioned is a structure where you would have this position, and underneath this position that we would have a transportation director for either both, shared by both districts or the consolidated district. And it's anticipated that Mr. Voss from Virginia would do that. And also underneath that, you'd have a director of maintenance for, again, either both districts or the consolidated district. And Mike Hogue would be assigned those duties. I can't speak for Mr. Voss, but I've personally talked to Mike Hogue about it, and he is very comfortable if that would come to be that way. In fact, he liked the idea.
Okay, so Virginia had a maintenance foreman, we have a maintenance foreman all in one. They have a separate transportation one. Now theirs retired, and Mr. Krebsbach is filling in for only certain parts of it. But now we have a full-time maintenance person that might be for both districts or a consolidated district, like you said, Matt. And the same with the transportation director, which we do not have a separate one. It's combined with Mike Hogue's. I'm just trying to find out, where do you carve the duties out of this liaison / maintenance person? And how much do they overlap or they don't overlap with what we already have?
Just to clarify, the buildings and grounds person in Virginia is no longer there.
I understand that.
So there's an open position, and Mike Krebsbach is retiring, so the duties that he's been doing will need to be taken over by somebody, and that would be Jeff.
And no, wouldn't that be Mike Hogue as the as the maintenance director for either both districts or, like Matt said, the consolidated district? So I'm just saying, where are the extra duties coming in for the other part of the liaison job description? I think we
You're
have
right.
some crossover there, and I don't see, I'd like to see Mike Hogue's job description now and for the combined or consolidated maintenance foreman's job duties and commensurate salary, and how this fits in. You know, would he be relieving some of the duties of a new maintenance person and or Mike Hogue at this time, or what? And that's not in here. You know, we need to compare those duties with Mike's duties now and in the future, or whoever will be the maintenance person. That's what I'm saying.
Polly, you're correct. When he corrected me about to the Mike Hogue's position, that, or Mike Krebsbach's position, that would most likely be Mike Hogue, and Jeff would be doing the duties that's currently open. So yes, you were correct.
So then, do we need both Mike Hogue and what this liaison maintenance person is supposed to be doing, or is it duplication?
What we've done is you've taken one full-time position in the Virginia former director of buildings and grounds. What they had now with Mike Krebsbach was completely a temporary thing to get him through that.
Exactly.
And you've taken that, what was a full-time position in Virginia, and you've made that basically, it's a melded thing, but you basically, it's envisioned that it'll be 50% pretty much construction liaison and 50% other administrative duties. You've replaced the full-time administrator with a half-time administrator is what it amounts to.
Well, not necessarily, because isn't that the purpose of all of this? Either when you're cooperating is to not duplicate services. Instead of having two maintenance people, if we want to go down to one. Instead of we have one transportation person that Mr. Voss will be for both districts and or a consolidated district. I mean, isn't that the purpose of it?
So
We've reduced the administrative count by 50%, which is basically the construction liaison, which was budgeted in the construction budget.
That's not what my point was, but I'm just wondering, you're combining two different jobs here and two different job duties. Is the second half necessary and needed? Because we have a full-time maintenance person who could be the maintenance person for both school districts, whether we're consolidated or we're cooperating, because now Mike Hogue does not have to do the transportation. We've got a full-time transportation director between the two districts, okay? Enough said, but here's the other thing. Part of the maintenance person / part of the construction liaison, he would not be able, as I understand it, to collect TRA on that portion of it. It would have to be a prorated TRA benefit from just the administrative position. Jeff? So you'd have to figure out what percentage.
Yes.
Pardon me?
I have to get through this 2021 class schedule stuff because I got timelines I gotta meet.
We need more discussion.
I agree, Polly. I think, I mean, this is the first time we've been able to see a rough draft of it and everything, so I think that's helpful. And I would be interested to just kind of have a clear breakdown of how we foresee the changes in transportation and maintenance, and then what those other duties would be. I think it's not as streamlined as we would want, because we do have many buildings between both districts right now, and that will have ongoing needs during the next few years to still be able to teach out of. So, but yes, I think further discussion would be great and some other documentation.
Okay, me and Jeff will set that up then. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
All right, I do need to talk to you folks about the schedule, because we do have timelines for if we're going to reduce staff. I need to do that by the next meeting. So I'm going to share something real quick here, and I want to go through this. We have gone through this before, we just refined it, and I want to make sure that everyone understands where we're at. So anyway, you're looking at high school on your screen right now, and we maintain a full art position. Angie, you can jump in at any point here, and Todd. I'm gonna move this. Business, we're down because we don't have a business teacher. We're basically down to those computer skills classes. We did offer the technology skills and intro to computer programming, and we don't really have enough kids for those. You want to talk about those, Ange, where we put those kids? If she's still alive. Are you still alive, Angie? Maybe she's not with us. I'll just
No, I'm here, but the intro to computer programming class, we just went with their second elective. So whatever, because we didn't run that with 13, whatever their second elective was, that's what we put them in.
All right, moving on down to English. We have 32 semesters now, which is a little over 3 full-time people. Class sizes are, the worst one is right now is 7th grade, which we might have to do something with in the fall, but it's one of those bubble classes where obviously if you take 89 and divide it by 3, it's about 30. But we've learned that it's not real prudent to do anything about that at this time of year, so we're just gonna leave that for now. Family Consumer Science, we wanted to make sure that we maintain that program. You can see an 8 there, full-time, by the way, is 10. You can see an 8 there, but she does have our current fax teacher has a science license, so we're gonna give her a science class as well. The only questionable one here, there's a semester called Careers in Education. It's something that we haven't done before. We only currently have, is it 5, Ange?
Yes. There's
Correct.
5 kids that are signed up for that. It is brand new. It is a semester. So it's something that's going to be hopefully a big part of the new school, so we're hoping to run that anyway. Industrial Tech, we found somebody. Oops. We found a live body to teach.
All right.
Hello.
That's great.
We only had 8 semesters, but Virginia has the fill-in. So what's going to end up happening is Virginia's going to hire this individual, and we're going to buy the time from him. But it'll be good. He's got some experience he's a young guy, comes highly recommended. So he's got some ag background too. So he's got some different experiences, and I think it's going to be good. Math sitting at 32. Music same as last year, 10, which you have to understand that that's just high school. A lot of music ends up being the elementary, so it's still the same 3 people. P and health, again, lots of elementary there as well, so there isn't really a huge reduction there. There is no reduction there. Science, science is at 30, and that works out good with Mrs. Bauman taking that 1. Social studies sits at 36, and that's just because last year it was at 34, but there's Andrew, what's the is econ is the change from last year? It's in every other year
Oh,
thing.
there's the Iron Range,
Yeah.
history went, and that's new.
Spanish, we're switching things up a little bit. We didn't have enough in the high school. We didn't have 3 sections of Spanish 1 like we have. We had a little smaller class there in 9th grade. So we did approach her about doing an 8th grade intro class for a semester each for the kids, and we're gonna give that a try next year just to make sure that we maintain that program. And that's it. So all told, if we do this, this would be a reduction of 1.2 FTE from last year. The other one that I need to share with you, my screen never pops up here. Come on, buddy. Elementary, and I have the current and the projected on the side. So kindergarten, you can see, goes down tremendously. We had a big kindergarten class this year, 76, and right at this very moment, we're sitting at 28.
Whoa.
Whoa was right. Last Thursday was supposed to be kindergarten roundup, which we would have had a better number, but obviously that didn't happen, and we're still trying to grasp how we're going to take care of that stuff. We are calling all the families that are on the census, though. It is a small census, so I mean, either way, that's going to be a small class. First grade, you can see, is 4 sections. Second grade at 59, so that puts at 3 sections, it's about 19 or 20 in a class. Third grade with 3 sections puts it at 17 in a class. Fourth grade with 60 is 20 in a class, 19 in 5th grade, and then 18 and sixth grade. So overall, this is a reduction of 3 sections from where we were this year. And some of the sections are very small. I'm just wondering
I
if
guess where is the 3, Jeff?
oh, sorry. 2. I was thinking about something else. But you have, right now we have 4 sections of sixth grade. And we have 2 sections of kindergarten coming in, so it's 2. Sorry, Matt.
2 lower in kindergarten, 1 more in first grade, and 1 less in sixth grade.
Yes. Do we have any comments on the sizes of those classes, or?
There's nothing you can really do. What it is what it is.
Do we have any retirees this spring?
Not that we're aware of right now. So all things considered, and we'll have to, at the next meeting, we're gonna have to make these reductions. We'll have to talk to the people that are affected by it this coming week and bring that to the board at the next meeting.
All right. So Jeff, you want to give any more comments on that?
The only other thing that I'd add, and it's pure speculation at this point, we're not entirely sure what the fall is gonna look like, obviously. There's talk of we might not be able to open in the fall. There's talk of even if we do open, it's gonna have to look a little different, like half of them come in the morning, half in the afternoon. But I think either way, I don't know that it's gonna affect the decision that you're gonna make here. I think we'll have the same number of people.
So Jeff, let me just ask this: when the consolidation passes, if it passes, how is that going to affect this open enrollment? Are we going to start? No, because obviously Virginia's. I mean, I don't know what their numbers are looking like, but can we start? Instead of having them to hire teachers and we're losing teachers, why can't you bring some of those kids back if that's the case?
At some point in the next couple of years, your board is going to have the conversation of elementary boundaries.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen next year, but within the next year or two, you're gonna have that conversation. Absolutely.
I mean, if Virginia's got 1 extra section per grade and we're losing 1 section per grade, I mean, there's got to be something. If we're consolidated, that should be something that should be taken consideration right away.
I don't know that you want to do that like for next year. You need to give parents a solid year warning that, hey, this is coming.
All right.
And along those lines, Jeff and Bill, previous conversations about the proximity of students to the new elementary buildings and about bus runs and things. And we had John Powers do some work for us, and I had some additional conversations with him, and so did Jeff, and I passed some of them on to Bill. And I thought then, and I think now, and even in light of this discussion, that he's agreed that he would do, based on the numbers now, do a proximity study about the closeness of consolidated students to each of the elementary buildings. And I would like that to be done if it had to be a vote of the board, whether, we think we should do it now or not, but have that official discussion at some point very, very soon, and then have that done, because it's going to come into play in transportation anyway, once we either, consolidate and or combine something, but it's just gonna be at consolidation, so that would help this discussion right here about the elementary boundary.
All right, Mr. Chair, I know Kelly wanted to talk a little bit about, or she wanted this on the agenda. I don't know if she wanted to talk about it, but she wanted to talk about the mental health with kids in our current
Okay.
situation.
All right, go ahead, Kelly.
Okay, so, we have, but this was actually shared with an email that we received from an individual regarding concerns, with mental health and how our students are doing during this time with being more isolated, not connecting with friends as much. Luckily, we have kids that are pretty savvy at social media and technology right now, but it's still not completely enough sometimes. I believe in, Angie or Jeff could probably speak to this more, but I believe that JoJo had the coaches to be reaching out to who they have on their teams. I'm just wondering what other ways that we can be reaching out and advocating for our students on ways that they can access mental health services, or talking to someone. I know Range Mental Health has their 24-hour crisis line, and that number is 288-2100. And that is for children and adults across the board. And they've, and I know we had students utilize that with various tragedies that we've experienced in our community. So I'm just looking at other ways to be able to really make sure that we're reaching out and connecting with our students as much as we can to be supportive, and that they also know who to reach out to when they're needing the help too. So
I'll speak a little bit to that briefly, if you don't mind. My counselor is working really hard at the middle level, and I am as well, reaching out to students every day. We both do every single day. We're talking to students and families. And Tara our counselor, Tara Fierke, is really connected with some of the kids and helping that way. We can't reach everyone, but we are doing our darndest.
that is so great to hear. Thank you, Todd.
And I can speak on that a little bit too. Part of our distance learning plan is we had to have a plan for mental health issues. So in the distance learning plan that went out for 7th through 12th grade, there is a document that was attached that talked about resources for mental health. Before we had this distance learning, we had students being serviced at the high school 9 through 12 with Range Mental Health, and they are continuing those services through telehealth with Range Mental Health. So those services are still in place.
And they're still taking new admins too, is my understanding. So even if you weren't seeing them before, you could reach out to contact them to begin seeing them now, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Do we have anything on the website to link to that resources page? Is there any way to put a link for that resources page that was sent home?
It is on there already under our distance learning plan, because we are required to have our distance learning plan on there, so it should be linked there.
Do you have to search?
We can put it on there as a separate page.
Thanks.
Any more comments on that?
Let's get up and stretch for a couple minutes, Bill.
Yeah. All right, and then it's 5:57. You got 3 minutes, unless you guys wanna. We'll start on time, I guess, or 6 o'clock if that's fine with everybody.
That works.
Okay.